Hello, everyone. Welcome. Happy Saturday. We are so glad that you are joining us for this week 3 of February setup. Thank you everyone for joining us. My name is Katie Gideon. I will be the on-screen facilitator. I am dialing in from Edinburgh, Scotland, and I am so happy to be here. I have been in a pretty good mood this week, but obviously my week is not complete without spending time with my Sonder fam. And I want to give a huge shout out to my co-facilitator in the chat. It is Bailey, who is joining us from Tennessee. I always love working with Bailey. I feel like we have that like kind of good fun, get you in the good mood Saturday. Because if you've had a week, we are glad that you're here. We get to start a new week next week. So that means we get to acknowledge all the highs and lows and everything in between and figure out how we're going to set ourselves up for success for this next week. So love seeing all of our returning socialers in the chat. Welcome. It is always nice to see all of you. I started to see some new folks in the chat. So if this is your first time social, if this is your first time weekly setup social, let us know in the chat if you are new here, because we love to welcome all of our new first-time socialers. And if you have questions, you can always put in the chat to the host and panelists. That only comes to myself and Bailey. But if you want to share with the larger Sonder fam in the chat, make sure it is set to everyone. We are going to be working out of the February journal, but don't worry, I saw some folks that maybe don't have their journal yet because they've signed up for March, and March is going to be their first one, so maybe they're getting a little bit of a head start here. But that is perfectly fine because I also recommend some post-it notes, something to kind of take notes with, take screenshots, because I feel like not only are you on your kind of Silk and Sonder journal journey to figure out how the little journal is going to work best for you with putting the power of pen to paper, but you have now found this amazing component of it, which is the socials, that not only expands the ideas and creativity around the journals that we share amongst like-minded people, but it gives you an accountability group that can do it as well. But putting all those pieces together, one, can be a little overwhelming, and two, is going to take some time to kind of figure it out. So if you want to be in the chat, be in the chat. We're not grading these, so no one's going to come back through and see if you completed your assignment for the week. So maybe you just want to be here for the chat. Maybe you are just here for some ideas on the slides. Maybe you just need kind of a super fun playlist to hang out on Saturday as you get your day ready to go. But if I am too much, you can mute me, you can mute the music, and you can just be here to set up the week that you see it. We're just excited that you have set aside this time of your day to focus on your self-care. And as always, be kind and courteous to yourself and others. No promotions or spam. Please respect everyone's privacy. No hate speech or bullying. Limit repetitive product and accessory questions. While Bailey and I have some information, most of the customer care questions are going to have to go to headquarters at hello@silkandsonder.com. So we will try and answer as much as we can, but a lot of the very specific information is not something that we can handle, and we will be sure to pass that information along. And then, as always, Sonder Socials are a tool to help elevate your emotional health through the power of community, but you are responsible for your own emotions, well-being, and decisions. So while we kind of come and broach some sensitive topics, some like deeper below the surface, and I feel especially with this month's theme, you got to be in a headspace for it. So if you're not in that headspace, we are still glad that you joined us, and we hope that you are definitely here. But take some deep breaths, set up some of those mental barriers or boundaries that you need, because this should not be triggering. This should be a motivational supportive tool component to it. But if you've had a week, here's our permission to kind of put it past us and move on. And if you're struggling, let us hear about it in the chat, because we certainly want to help, and there are always creative ways to come around it as well. So as we continue again to dive into this month's theme of confidence, I feel like I have had an up and down relationship with confidence, just because I'm one of those people that I feel like I exude very confident personality, and I can turn it on when I need to. And then it gets turned off very late at night when I am alone by myself in the deep, dark, crevices of my mind, when I'm in one of just those emotional moments. So I'm having to find a balance between the motivation of that inner critic. I refer to my little inner critic as she's like my role of like guardian angel, inner critic, the motivation. She kicks me when I need it. She provides that effort, but she can also stand with her little megaphone and really tear me down from the inside. So I need to strike a balance between that inner critic and all of the things, and not at the expense of that self-confidence that I need. Because at the same time, I do think there's times and place for, criticism and evaluation and feedback and those type of things. So it's striking that balance between the two so that I'm not unnecessarily tearing myself down before I even start. Because I am definitely one of those. I am my harshest criticism, biggest critic. And sometimes she's there and sometimes she gets me out of definitely tough situations. But there are other times where she's just wanting some attention and she needs to just chill out. So that is what I'm going to continue to explore there. And I know there are some really awesome, there's a really awesome quiz in the Silk and Sonder blog, which I'll provide that link once the music starts over, of like kind of an inner critic quiz to find out what is your kind of true nature of the inner critic. So I think it's really valuable. I think it can be helpful, but it's more of like, she and I have been together for a long time, so we kind of understand how we work. And we continue to circle each other as necessary, but can't live with her, can't live without her. So we're going to go into our confidence mind map, our rosebud thorn, and our weekly setup pages. So if you haven't set up a confidence mind map before, the mind maps are a unique component to the weekly setups, where it gives us an opportunity at each of the weekly setups to dive a little deeper into the theme of confidence. So it's not a prompt that it's in your journal. It's something that we create either on a blank page or a blank spot. And so don't worry if you miss a week or show up late and don't get to it. We always provide the previous week examples, but we're also kind of reaching that point where if you haven't done the February mind map, we're on week 3. So we'll provide all the questions there, but please don't get overwhelmed in that you have to kind of jump in and catch up. That's not how these are designed. These are just ideas to add to the kind of not only repetition of building the activities for the weekly setups, because that's how we create great habits with repetition, but it's also just an opportunity to dive a little bit deeper into the theme as we not only just embrace our self-care, but also celebrate some of those. So I feel like this is definitely a time to celebrate some of those confidence, the self-confidence, inner confidence, the relentlessness, the resilience, all of those amazing confident synonyms. So week 3. We're focusing on the confidence and the qualities that make you unique. Consider personal qualities that you like about yourself. I know can be a little bit triggering, so there are other ways to think about it. Don't worry, I'll provide that on the next slide. But think about aspects of your character and personality or things you like about the way you look, speak, or feel. So this is kind of that all-inclusive, somewhat squishy component of what makes you you. Since we talked about the greatest strengths the first week and confidence in your appearance the second string, now we're bringing in those, like I said, the squishy things, the emotional, the mental, any of those type of components. So as always, on the right is the way I have designed my mind map. I'm all about the vines. They were Christmas lights in December. They've transferred now into spring vines. So that's going to be my theme this year because I'm all about the vines, or anything that you can put on a string. Guess I'm tapping into my inner cat ideas. With this one, as a reminder, be gentle and kind to yourself with this one. Take a few deep breaths if you need them. And then, as always, consider personal qualities that you like about yourself. That's certainly what we want to focus on. But if you're just having a hard time and that inner critic is being the loudest on the negativity side, you can also think about how those that love and support you describe when you are asked about your characteristics and your personality. So you can always tap into that if your kind of self-motivation isn't quite there. But I certainly challenge you to kind of overcome that a little bit and start celebrating that confidence, because you need to have confidence in those abilities. So putting them out there, shouting them into the universes are great ways to start that relationship. You can always focus on one question or add more answers to the particular prompt. And then what I found is that this was actually a little less word driven and kind of more of a phrase or a combination. So for me, some of the qualities I liked about myself was, while I consider myself a definite optimist, I am definitely grounded in reality. I'm a huge fan of setting yourself up for success because reality is not something you can control, but attitude is everything. I like to see the other perspective for some better understanding. I pride myself in outside of the box solutions. I do like to try a lot of things, and I always like to integrate myself into a team spirit. I enjoy the kind of smart changes, the adaptability and the flexibility of those. And then I always pride myself in finding my voice when I need it and I can fill a room. So those are just my ideas. I'm going to give you guys some time to work on your mind map. So we are on a blank page, or if you've already created your mind map, this is week 3 of the mind map. We are looking at our confidence and the qualities that make us unique. So consider those personal qualities that you like about yourself. Think about aspects of your character and personality or things you like about the way you look, speak, or feel. And we'll see you soon. Thank you everyone for sharing. Please definitely continue to share those qualities in the chat. But I get it. Alexis mentioned that you can certainly get a little bit emotional at these for a lot of different reasons. Me in particular, I loved seeing the optimism and the celebration and the positivity and the shout out of kind of the big feelings and the big emotions just at kind of the swell of the music that went up. So you get a little choked up, you get a little caught up in kind of just the joy, I think, and the simplicity of sharing some of those things, putting it out into the universe to make you feel just a little bit better. But thank you everyone for sharing. What is great about these mind maps is that you can explore the question throughout the week. Certainly kind of keep a running tally of kind of some of those qualities that you come across, all those things. But I think at the end of the day, with the mind map in particular for this particular month under this particular theme, is the opportunity to kind of celebrate some of those things that we always, you get told you're a little too full of yourself or you got too big an ego. But I think this is one of those opportunities to celebrate, because you definitely need to be a little bit overly confident in some of these situations, because at some point someone's going to try and chip away at it. So it's hard to start when you got a little, but if you've got an overabundance, you can take those chips a little bit better. But again, thank you everyone for sharing. We are going to move to the Rose Bud Thorn activity. So this is on page 44 in your February journal. So page 44, February journal for the Rose Bud Thorn exercise. And I think, again, this is kind of a continuation into the celebration component, because Rose is something that went well, a highlight, a win. That happened that week. A bud is going to be something you're looking forward to, an emerging opportunity, something that is exciting, or something that is maybe on the horizon that you haven't quite figured out if it's going to be a rose or a thorn or just a thing. And then the thorn is obviously something that didn't go so well, a roadblock, a challenge, but the opportunity to sit and look at this on a weekly basis gives you an opportunity to, again, celebrate those wins, acknowledge those kind of lower points of those losses, for lack of a better term, but also bring in the optimism and the excitement of how you can build on those from week to week. Because another way of kind of reframing the rosebud thorn is the kind of start, stop, and continue. Continuing those type of things for the roses. Start kind of those things that you can lay the framework for some of those bud opportunities to turn into roses, and then stop some of those things that maybe created a little bit of the thorn, but fully aware that sometimes thorns come with the territory and you just got to accept those. So for me this week, my rose was I actually applied to the University of Edinburgh for their online MBA program, and I was accepted. So I will be starting the MBA program while I am here. So I'm super excited about that. I am a huge nerd. So the fact that I get to go back to a classroom, well, part-time classroom setting, because it is online, makes me really happy. But it's something that I need, something that I'm excited, something that I do have the opportunity to not only participate in, but fund. And I know it's going to be a huge step for my resume as I continue to navigate my professional career. For my bud, I have gotten attached to a really great team for the company that I work in. We're working on some joint proposals across a couple different departments and different units. And I will shout out that the fact that the 3 people that are running it are all girls, and we're quite excited, but it's a really good mix of expertise. We have someone that's got policy experience, a definite laboratory style scientist, and I come with operational and project management. So I'm really excited that this is going to be my new team kind of over here as we work for some of these high visibility joint projects for our company. And Thorn, if you were here last week, my sleep is still not what it needs to be. Sleeping has been mediocre at best, still tired, but part of it is my own doing. I sign up for a lot of things that definitely occur late at night. I do consider myself a night out, but eventually there are those weeks that it definitely creeps up on me. So I need to make a better effort for it. So with that being said, please join us on page 44 in your February journal and start sharing with us if you want your rosebud thorn for the week, and we'll see you soon. Thank you everyone for sharing. This I think is just this opportunity to share under the rosebud thorn theme. I think certainly highlights the kind of roller coaster of life and how you can have very high highs during the week, very low lows during the week, and everything in between. What I also kind of like about this is not only is it just coming up with the actual kind of rosebud thorn things or situations, but kind of the trend. So if you find yourself, if it becomes a little bit challenging to find a rose from week to week, maybe that's kind of where you need to focus some of those things. Maybe again, finding a bud or not being able to find a bud, maybe there's something that you can then pull into the weekly spread to. Is there something that you can schedule later in the week that you can get excited about, even if it's something as simple as, set aside, 20 minutes to go and take a walk outside without a phone or, those type of things, and the ability to kind of add some of those. Same thing with thorns, is I certainly dwell a little bit when I'm in just one of those negative moods that I need to shake myself out of it. And, no amount of, cheerleading or any of those things is going to do it. So I think it's also just kind of the trend of acknowledgement of how you can see it. And then there are ways that you can then kind of incorporate that into the weekly spread to kind of come up with this type of tool. But at the same time, each week is going to be different. There are definitely going to be weeks where all of these are going to come really easily. There's definitely going to be weeks where you're like, I just don't have the energy, effort, or thoughts to even define these. And that's okay. It's just another one of those tools that you can use. Give yourself some grace with this one. It is an opportunity to, again, celebrate and acknowledge, but at the same time, it's just another aspect of how we can kind of use this to self-reflect. So now we are going to move into our weekly planner. So this is going to be page 46 and page 47 in the February journal. And as always, just because I talk through scenarios or provide my perspective on it, that is not the only way to do this. Sometimes, especially early on, you're going to kind of struggle with figuring out what works, what doesn't work. But what's great is you can try something new each week to really kind of start and settle in. So if you're still a little overwhelmed, still a little lost, that's okay. It does take time. You got to figure it out. But at the end of the day, at least try it. And then you can kind of go from there of what you like, what you don't like, and how you can make adjustments there. So again, please join us on page 46. The way I approach at the top of the page this week, what I want to feel is I ask myself, how do I want to feel this time next week? And so that's where I kind of use as my grounding, my baseline, my as I kind of osmose through the week. I'm a science nerd, so I always need to know what is my baseline. How do I come back to this? How do I want to end? Also still being somewhat goal oriented. So it's a way for me to kind of navigate. This is how I want to feel this time next week. That is how I build my satisfaction of, did I feel the way I wanted to feel? And if I don't, then I can make adjustments. Or maybe at the end of the day, that was really not what I wanted to feel. And I needed to, my response shouldn't have been negative. It was maybe you needed to do something else. So this can be a word, this can be a phrase, this can be a mantra, this can be stickers, this can be kind of an evaluation of what kind of moments you want to feel. Maybe you want to feel more something, less something. Maybe it's a kind of full-on kind of definition, any of those type of things. There are no rules or requirements here. They don't even have to be real words. They can be made up-ish. Whatever you need to kind of motivate yourself to get this time next week. So I'm going to turn on a brief song and let me know how you want to feel this time next week. Thank you everyone for sharing. Love seeing the definitely sticker idea. Saw that Shelby's was the one that had the how they wanted to feel in the definition, and being able to connect those together, I think also just compounds your ability to do so. What I also love seeing in the chat is how there's always someone else that I think is out there wanting to feel the same way you want to feel. So you feel a little less alone in trying to accomplish this. But at the same time, this is not something you have to come up like new with each week. You can definitely carry over previous weeks, because I feel like this is another one of those of everyone is on their own kind of unique self-care journey. So maybe you have a very set goal that's going to be a monthly goal, even to the like yearly goal. So sometimes those words are going to be kind of variations of the same thing. And that is fantastic. And it is perfectly okay. I have been on a relentless kick lately, and that's because I feel like I need to take a little bit more ownership of my time and how I'm managing it. And that's where it's like, I know I have very specific goals, so I just need to make sure that I am checking all of the boxes to meet those. So relentless is going to be a repeat for me. So in staying on page 46, we are going to move to the weekly major 3 goals. Just because it's called the weekly major 3 goals, you can always turn these into the weekly minor 3 goals. Maybe it's the weekly goal, the weekly 2 goals, the weekly 4 goals, or maybe these are just things you want to focus on and you remove all those words across there. But for me, this is kind of where I ground some of those squishy ideas. So these are the emotional or mental reminders that I want, so that I can feel the same way I want to feel as I kind of navigate my week's task, my week's appointments, my meetings, all overlaying as like, what do I need to do for right now? One of the big things I need to do is I need to make the actual effort to work on my sleep. But you can also break these down into categories. Some people have professional mind and body, a mind, body, heart goal, a mind, body, family goal, or a school, self, and family. Or you can use the alliterations with the productive, peaceful, and powerful, frog, fun, and fierce. Or there's the direct connection between your mind, body, and soul. For example, category themes here that go directly into the weekly to-dos, because those are the to-dos that focus under those categories. As we all say, stickers are a great way to incorporate those things as well. Or again, sometimes it's just the simple things of move, breathe, hydrate. For me, it would be sleep, move, and hydrate. Or if you have a couple different ways for some of those, the way you want to feel, someone wanted to feel calm, centered, and creative. So their 3 goals were attached to those 3 different ways they wanted to feel and how they wanted to feel it. So there are no right or wrong answers here. And then as always, you can certainly connect them to the weekly to-dos. Another one is the learn, leap into, and let go. So again, it play on the categories as well as the alliterations. Or maybe these are not where your weekly major 3 goals are. Maybe these are just your morning self-care goals, or maybe you need lines for your to-do list. So this is where your to-dos live and your weekly goals go elsewhere. So go ahead and share us how do you approach your weekly goals? Are you a categories person? Or are you just someone that likes to put some reminders there? Or do you have actually specific things that you want to accomplish? And we'll see you soon. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. Loved seeing the category approach, as well as just kind of there's an elegance, I think, in how we kind of define these major goals that I'm always so impressed with. And I love that Julie carries over some of her intentions from the month so that she can focus on for that week and create goals around those. That is a great way to kind of connect all of the pages. I am certainly becoming more of a fan of how can I stitch together all of the pages across into one unique theme. But that doesn't mean that they can't be done by themselves, or kind of uniquely with what you need for that week, because we know that there are weeks that it's weird, so they may have to stand alone there. So we are still on page 46 with the weekly to-dos. And I noticed that the to-dos can be to-dos or to-bees, but at the end of the day, we just want them to be to-done. So there are different ways to do this. What I've also, I feel like recently seen is that for depending on what I need to accomplish that week is going to look a little bit different. I am normally a to-do person because I love the satisfaction of celebrating what I have done, because it is that dopamine and positive reinforcement that I like and enjoy. I know that there are times where I carry over tasks that maybe are not nearly as fun or nearly as satisfying. And that's when I need to break down and use the Eisenhower matrix, which really is just a fancy way to prioritize the things that you need to do. So that's the do, decide, delegate, or drop, or delete. Same thing with there are times, especially when it comes to like chores, Pomodoro technique really works for me, where you pick a task, set a timer, work on each of those until they're done, and then you take your breaks until you have accomplished your to-dos or your Pomodoros as you go. The bingos are always another great way to do it, as well as I think the fun reminder is not only to include the things that you want to do, but some of the things that you have to do, because if you have appointments or meetings that you can't get out of, those will certainly take up some of your time. And a lot of times you're not accounting for your time correctly, is usually when things get a little lost. And at the same time with the need, want, and hope, that is just another way to reprioritize kind of your to-do list in a different form or format. Again, the weekly to be's I know is a fun approach. I am a big fan of the pyramid at the bottom, where are the things that you need to accomplish to reach your goal, which would be the top of the mountain or top of the pyramid. Or maybe you're like, hey, my to-do list is somewhere else. It lives either, digitally, or maybe you repurpose your meal plan for that. So maybe this is where your exercise time is. Maybe this is where you track weekly RINs. Maybe this is your cleaning bingo. I also like the call, errands, follow-up scheduling breakdown of the to-dos. Another do, decide, delegate, and delete example, or maybe this is just the reminder of don't forget your happy thoughts and write your happy thoughts down so that we can all fly through the week. Let us know what your weekly to-dos are, and we will see you soon. Thank you everyone for sharing. Love seeing all of the different approaches here. And like I said, really what I have noticed is that a lot of my productivity kind of hinges, for me at least, a lot on the kind of to-do list and the things that I get done. But I have found that that becomes a little bit trickier until I trick myself and either, rework it with all the same things with just a slightly different perspective, because I feel like sometimes I'm stubborn as a small child, but also using it as, each week is going to look a little bit different. So for one week that a to-do is going to work, maybe another week is going to look a little bit different. So that's where bingo can be a little bit more helpful. And like I said, a lot of times with some of the tasks that I just don't think I'm able to accomplish or can do, probably requires some reprioritization or some delegation, just so I don't continue to carry them over week to week. But thank you everyone for sharing. So now that we have got an idea of how we want to feel this time next week, now we have the kind of overarching goals that we want to achieve, or how we know that we can achieve the way we want to feel this time next week, overlaying with all the things that we want to do, need to do, want to accomplish. We are now going to add in those habits and activities that we can overlay that as well. So we are still on page 46 at the bottom of the page. So again, maybe this is where you carry over as well, the difference between the monthly tracker and the weekly habit and activity tracker. I usually ground it in reality. So my monthly tracker, I usually have the same like 2 or 3 goals that I want to do every single day. That's move, read, and journal. So those 3 things get carried over pretty much automatically to the week. But then I overlay, what's the weather going to be like? What is my workload going to be like? And can ground those in those, because I'm not always a fan of trying to achieve a goal specifically. But I definitely want to do those each time of day. But depending on what my week is, what time is not my own, is going to overlay that. And once I kind of made that connection, I felt myself a little bit more accomplished here, and this became a little less triggering. But just because that is my approach, here's some other approaches. You can do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method. And this particular person is doing the habits and activities that they want to stop. Maybe these aren't actually tangible activities and habits. Maybe these are just friendly reminders to be kind to yourself, accept yourself, get enough sleep. Just because there are 5 lines does not mean you need to have 5. Maybe you only have 3, maybe you only have 2. Maybe you are on vacation this week, or you have friends and family coming and you want to be fully present. So you're just like, I'm not doing it this week. So you can put a big sticker or a big doodle over it and make sure that, it's not what you need that week. There are other ways to do it, because we also know that your work week, if you're still working, will look a little bit different than your weekends. So being able to kind of structure what you want to get done during the week and what you want to get done on the weekend. Same thing with, maybe this is where you focus on specifically what type of routines you want to have. Maybe this is a morning routine, a self-care routine. Maybe you want to break it down into categories where you're going to try a new self-care habit, a new home care habit, a no spending, a specific activity focused on work. I always also recommend to include something fun, be it make a new playlist, sing out loud, dance like nobody's watching, carpool karaoke, one of those type of things, or something that you like to do that's distracting. Maybe it's the online New York Times Wordle or some of those super fun puzzles. I like that someone highlights a hobby of the day, and then they actually carry that over into their shopping list where they have a hobby bingo. And so they work on one of those hobbies or one of those crafts or activities each day. So it's another way to kind of focus and foundation there. I also know that Jennifer O, one of our other facilitators, she will actually highlight to look at, her monthly trackers or her monthly intentions. A lot of her like journal fundamentals are built into the habits and activities, because her habits and activities are in a bingo board elsewhere. And then I am also just a visual fan. I'm a visual sucker for anything that looks pretty and makes me happy about it. I feel like we all maybe experienced, especially stateside, that kind of fake spring where it was unusually warm and everyone was really happy and really excited. But we're getting ready to go into that kind of March cold blast. So maybe the winter care needs to move back up to the, hibernation not yet complete yet. And same thing with little things that are worth smiling about. So sometimes it is going outside and seeing the sun, any sort of walk, taking pictures, a late night conversation, early morning quiet, all of those things that you can happily embrace. So let us know what habits and activities you're tracking, maybe your habit and activity method, and we'll see you soon. Thank you everyone for sharing. Appreciate all of those. Love seeing all of the examples and all the different ways you can do it. And then also the being able to carry it over from week to week. I think that's absolutely fantastic, especially because, part of developing a new habit is the repetition component. So this is definitely one of those sections that I feel like doesn't change too much. And that's okay, but always leave yourself some grace and some flexibility to try something fun, something new, something that just makes you happy, makes you smile. Now we're going to move over to page 46. This is the B side, as I refer to it. Again, I'm a huge music fan. If you've come to my socials before, I definitely use the A side, which is the page we just completed, all the time, pretty diligently. Second page, I definitely have a love-hate relationship with, and I was getting really frustrated that I was getting ideas and not quite following through and not using them. But when I really had something that I needed or something that I really wanted, I was definitely more committed to it. So that's why I refer to it as the B side, because there are definitely some hidden gems, but it's not something that I listen to all the time. So again, we're on page 47. This is another one of those that I feel like gets repurposed a lot. The meal plan. It can definitely be used as a meal plan. It can use as a real-time meal plan tracker. I've also used it to track symptoms. I have used it for meal prep. What I've also seen people is now it's meal plan for the soul. So this is where they've included kind of journal prompt ideas. So something that you did well, an opportunity for reflections, maybe a different type of health tracker. You can also include the affirmations that are in the app here. Someone wanted to feel composed. That's how they wanted to feel this time next week. So it was, how did you show composure today? Someone else wanted to feel strong. So it was, how did you show strength today? Then you have the options of a wardrobe plan or a clothing plan if you're going on a trip. I certainly use it for work travel. It really helps with my not overpacking. Maybe this is kind of a daily chore list. Someone also is amazingly creative and writes a daily haiku about their day, which is fantastic and amazing. That's the one second from the right. And then others have picked kind of words of the day that they want to focus on, either in their actions or an opportunity for reflection. And then we'll also talk about the mind body health plan, because these two can go kind of hand in hand, because some people will not track the whole meal plan for the day. Maybe they just track dinners. Maybe this is where, again, we love a good alliteration. So maybe this is where you kind of put a focus on talking out Tuesday, walking Wednesday. Maybe this is your mind body or your mind spirit health plan. What did you do for those? Another place to put those journal prompts, I do like the one with how you felt today. So what do you need because you feel that way? I think that's a really good, there's a power in a T-chart. Or maybe this is just a reminder for stickers or the observe, not absorb type reminders. Maybe this is where your kind of chore chart lives. Maybe you're asking yourself how you cared for yourself. Maybe you're focusing on some specific wellness components that you want to do daily, or this is a reading log. So the opportunity to kind of repurpose both of these for what you need is really great. So let us know in the chat if you repurpose any of these sections. Thank you everyone for sharing. Love seeing the opportunities to kind of stick with things that you like. Lynn likes the 7 types of rest, so that's where she puts in the mind body health plan. But for me, at the end of the day, there are really great templates, but it's not something that I use all the time. But being able to kind of track what I need when I need it, I think is fantastic. Because again, each week is going to look a little bit different. So the tools are all there. You just kind of got to figure out how you want to do it. And then I always kind of ask myself, did I not track something because maybe that just wasn't the priority? Or is it something that I really need to buckle down and do? The other section on page 47 is the shopping list. This is another one of those that gets repurposed often, but it can absolutely be used as a shopping list that goes hand in hand with the funeral plan, especially if you're trying to kind of budget for some of those things. It looks great there. But this can be where the boring stuff bingo lives, daily rituals, celebrate the wins, self-care reminders just for fun. I like the ideas for mini breaks at work because I'm definitely one of those that feels chained to their desk quite oftenly, occasionally, and certainly so the opportunity to kind of take the actual effort to get up and do something different. The positive self-talk one, the don't buy and buy options for a shopping list. And then, as I was saying, someone does a hobby of the day, their hobby bingo as that bottom right one. So they focus on one of those for each day of the week as part of their trackers. And then the I am loving section. This is one of those that you can just shout out the things that you love, is again another way to celebrate something that makes you happy, makes you smile. For me, if you didn't know, Footloose, the movie, the original, the only one that actually matters, was released today, 40 years ago. This is one of my favorite movies. I feel like it's just the nostalgia there. And I have a younger sister, and it's just the two of us. And then I feel like anytime, like my entire family, so it was my mom, my dad, my sister, and I were in the car together for a long time, the only cassette we could agree on to listen to was Footloose. So we wore that cassette out. So not only is it a fun movie, I think it's a great album. I also love the musical version of it because it went to Broadway. But today I am loving the fact that I get to celebrate this. So there was some homage to it, as you heard. So definitely highly recommend cranking up the Footloose for a good 80s feel good thing. But that also leads us to the currently page. If you haven't done this one, I also recommend doing that. This is a great way to, again, write down all the things that you're loving, you're feeling, you're enjoying, anticipating, since we are kind of mid-month. I like to do this because there are 3 lines with each category at the beginning and the middle and the end of the month, just to kind of see the fun things and the fun transition that I've made. But with that being said, we always like to see your examples in the app. And can you believe that we have reached the end? It has been an hour. I have thoroughly enjoyed spending this time with you. Thank you everybody for sharing. Bailey is going to start including some of those links in the chat, as well as the QR codes here. As always, you will receive the survey. We read all of your feedback. That is how we get new socials. Those socials were created. So let us know what you want to see in your journal, what socials you want to see, when you want to see them. And also the YouTube link that is not searchable. If you don't have that bookmark, do it. If you show up late, if you have to leave early, or if you miss one, or it just doesn't work for timing, you can explore all of those previous videos. We're well past, I think, 600 different socials. So you can always find a social that you're looking for. And especially if you're working through the life workbook, there are some of the previous socials that we did for those there. I will also include a link to my playlist. Spotify, I create playlists for each of these, so you can always find one of those if you need a good 30-minute playlist for a fun attitude. But thank you again for spending your Saturday with us. You guys are going to have a fantastic week and a fantastic rest of the weekend. We hope to see you again soon. Bye.
Walk through life. Every day is a new beginning. Shine your light. It's a day and the world is waiting. Move along to the song, singing in your soul. Feel the beat, clap your hands. through life.